Welcome to Speedy Walkthroughs, where we show just the important stuff to beating the game. For first time viewers, this will look different to a normal walkthrough. It will show just the essentials, so you don't need to spend a long time watching this video. I won't talk about fighting specific enemies unless they're very difficult, but I will show you where to go and what to do. Today we're playing Final Fantasy for the NES, which is an RPG and it's sort of turn-based. And you're going to start by picking 4 different characters. So I prefer to pick a lot of fighters because I like to just, get a sword and beat enemies, but you'll definitely want something like a mage on your team. So that's what my team's going to look like. We're going to have 3 fighters here, and then we're going to have a red mage as the last one. The good thing about the red mage is you can use different kinds of magic. So you've got your white mage and your black mage. Your white mage tends to be more of a healer. The black mage tends to do damage to enemies. The red mage can do a little bit of both. So it doesn't reach the same sort of heights that the white mage or black mage reaches, but it can be used for good damage output, but also good healing. So that's what I'm going to do. This team that I'm using is a pretty typical combo, but feel free to choose whatever you want to use. So let's make a start into the game. When you load up, you'll be in the map, and the very first thing you want to do is go into these towns and start getting weapons and armor for your party. Now, what I recommend is Google a damage chart, or sort of like a weapon equipability chart, to make sure that you're equipping the right things, because it won't be obvious what you can equip to your party when you're just buying the weapons. But I'm going to buy the weapons appropriate to the fighters and the mage, and then we'll equip those. So you want to go into the pause menu and equip the weapons, similarly with armor. If you try and go and beat the first boss without doing this, you're going to have a very difficult time, but a lot of people would just run straight up to the first boss and try it. Anyway, once we've done that, and we're equipped with everything, we're going to go up towards that first boss area. You'll come across fights on your way here. Now, if you're used to playing a lot of RPGs, what you'll notice that's different about this one is you actually have to select your enemies that you're going to hit. So if you just have all of your party members target the first enemy, that first enemy will die pretty quickly, and then the rest of your party members will just attack the empty space where that enemy was. So you've got to be a bit strategic about those choices there. Anyway, we're going to talk to this dude Garland and sort of beat him. It's hopefully not too difficult to fight because you're right at the start of the game, but if you're having any difficulty, you can just stay outside and sort of level up there. Alright, so once we got that, we sort of walk back to the castle here, and we're going to actually start the game properly now. Before we do this, I'm just going to buy some more armor now that we've got a bit more money. And we'll equip all that and then head out of town. You'll go over this bridge here, and that's where you get the actual intro credit sequence. Anyway, if we zoom through here, the next thing you're really going to do is go towards the right. Beating enemies as you go, of course, and then down into this town. So there's this guy that you talk to, and he basically has a ship that you're going to get. What you have to do is beat 9 pirates to get that ship, though. So we'll go through this fight here, and once you win, you will get that ship. Alright, next thing I'm going to do here is just stock up on all the armor. Again, as I said before, make sure you're Googling what kind of armor your characters can have. They can also have sort of the base armor, they can have something on their hands and something on their head as well. So make sure you're equipping all of that stuff. You'll find that item management is pretty tricky in this game as well. So we're going into the inn there to heal up, then we'll just head out. The boat is there waiting for us. Now at this point I'm actually going to fight some sharks because sharks are really good for getting experience and gold and everything, which we'll need a lot of. This game can be quite grindy, so you'll have to do a lot of grinding in this little section before you move on here. So at this point in the video I've done a lot of grinding, and actually quite a bit, probably about half an hour of grinding in real game time here. So we're going to head down and left to the next town once you're leveled up appropriately. You can sort of see the health values of all the party members are in the hundreds now, and that's just due to the grinding there. I'm also going to get some better equipment for them too. We're going to go into this town and then just stock up on equipment here. Now, of course, depending on what characters you have, will determine what equipment's going to be best for you. But you can see mine are mostly decked out with that optimal equipment for them. Anyway, we're going to keep moving left here and then go up. So our next sort of destination is going to be this little dungeon thing to the left. So down into here, we're now into that dungeon. There's lots of like ghost type enemies in here. Alright, so you're going to head down first and then into this little room. That brings you down to this floor. You're then going to head through here and just grab all the collectibles that you can if you'd like to. I'll head over here and then downstairs into the next room. So this room has a lot of different chests. Basically, there's a whole bunch of different rooms. Only one is actually the way forward to progress on with the game. The rest are just chests that you might want. So I'm going to get particular chests that are good for me because I know what's in them in advance. But if you want, you can just sweep through this room and grab all the chests. You do have to be quite careful because it's pretty easy to die in this dungeon. Now this chest here is actually the one that helps you progress through the game, and it will be guarded by wizards. So it's sort of luck depending how many wizards are in front of the chest there, but just see how you go and make your way through. This will be probably a big bottleneck of the game that you'll need to level up quite a bit for. Alright, now that we've got the wizards, we're actually going to open that chest. And we've got the crown, so that's the next item to progress with the story there. Once we've got that crown, we're sort of going to head out of this dungeon area. Alright, and we're pretty much done with that. So with the crown, you're going to head sort of north, going up through the map there. But before I do that, I'm going to heal up in this town, because it's pretty likely that you'll be in a bad situation after this. You can see most of my party members are nearly dead. I'm also going to buy a really good sword here, the silver sword. That's good for if you have fighters, for example. And we're going to upgrade our shield to the iron shields instead of the wooden shields as well. Again, that will depend on what characters you have. Alright, so we're going to make our way back up through. We're heading up to give this crown to this next area. There we go, we'll give him the crown. And it's going to be a boss fight with Astos. Once you've done this boss fight, that'll sort of be the next thing that progresses along with the story. Alright, after we've done this, we're going to head back down to where we had our boat just before. I'll just be going into the town to heal up and everything. Grab a couple more silver swords. And then heading out. So with our boat, we're going to ride it up towards the north here. And I'm just going to check out this cave for now. So that character you talk to sort of progress the story along a bit further. Now that we've done that, we'll be able to head back out of this area. Alright, I'll just play that back a little bit. So you go to the castle in this area and you talk to the king. And the king gives us a mystic key. So the mystic key is a really important item because it can now open all these mystic key doors that we've seen around the game so far. So you can sort of go and raid through the entire game and get everything you might want. But the mystic key will actually help us progress through the story a bit more. Alright, so with the mystic key, we're going to head back north again. ride our boat up to this starting area and actually go into the starting castle. So the starting castle has this TNT dynamite sort of item behind a mystic key that was locked. So it's in that chest there. So that TNT is actually required to progress through the game. And we're just going to do some item management and then head out. Alright, so we're going to get in our boat and ride to the left. Then we'll hop out here. And this is where we're going to use the dynamite in this cave area here. So we're going to head down here and then we'll have a bit of dialogue about the dynamite. He gets to work blowing up the little bit of land and actually makes it so that we can ride our ship further out into the larger area of the game. Anyway, after a bit more item management, we're going to head back out. And then we're going to go back towards our ship. So through this little canal that's created, we can now access the rest of the game. That's exactly what we're going to do. Going left and into this town here. So whenever you get to a new town, it's really good to just check out what they're selling in terms of like armors and weapons and everything. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here, just upgrading a little bit. And then heading back out. We're going to make our way to the left of this town now. And coming through this cave here, we'll go to the top section first. And it's always good to get these chests if you can, because they usually have pretty good items in them. So we're into the right section here now. We'll be fighting these gargoyles and then making our way through. And then you'll follow this maze through after the right section. The maze is pretty self-explanatory. It's not too tricky, but you just want to head through that maze and make our way to the next room. Then we'll make our way down and into this section here. If you end up picking up tents or cabins, they're usually pretty good because they can heal you at a save point like the overworld. Then we're going to make our way left here. And sort of down. So we'll have this boss fight with the vampire dude. And we got the ruby there. Now behind him is this little metal plate thing that you can't get past. So we're actually going to have to come back out of this cave and then come back and get that metal plate. It's a little bit strange, but you have to do this cave twice essentially. So at this point I'm just going to walk out of the cave, so I'll skip past that bit. And then we'll go to the next bit of the game. Alright, we're now out of the cave, so we're just going to make our way back to where we came from. Right, back into this town here, of course, heal up, make sure you get any items you'll need. If you've got a mage, it's really good to pick up those extra cure abilities, because they're pretty good for healing health and everything. So we're now going to head sort of left to this cave here, which is a different cave than what we were in before. So this little dude crunches the ruby and then we can get past. So that ruby is what we picked up in that sort of earth cave that we're in before. Alright, we're going to head out of this cave here and then across. And into here. So we got to talk to this guy, and he's talking about how we get past that little metal plate thing. So now we're actually going to go back into that cave that we were in just before. So we're going to head down from here, and then back into this cave. You're going to go through the cave the exact same way that we did before. So it's fairly linear once you get on the right path, but essentially you just want to head to the right once you're in this cave. Okay, so you're sort of going to go past where you had that fight with the vampire before, right to the end of the cave, and we're going to find this metal plate here. Now, I'll play this bit in normal speeds, it's pretty important. You want to pause and go to your items, and use the rod in front of the plate, and that shatters the plate. It's pretty tricky to know to do that if you hadn't read the text from that dude before, and in later remakes of this game, they just let you click on the plate and use the rod. But you actually have to go into your pause menu and use it in this game. But moving on, we're actually going deeper into that Earth dungeon. Okay, we're now into this bit where we're going to fight the Earth sort of boss. This boss can be pretty tricky, so make sure you level it up enough for it and everything. If you need to, just go and grind a bit longer. And that gets us here. So you can eventually warp out just by stepping on that bit at the back. And that's sort of one of the 4 crystals we're going to get in this game. So I haven't mentioned it yet, but the game sort of is broken up into these 4 special crystals that you get. And we've just got our first one there. So we're making good progress here. Now we'll just stock up on items, get what we need, and then we're going to head out of town. I'm going to head down now, and then right. Trying to use the landmarks that I'm passing to make sure you're on the right track, but if you head to the right here and keep going, you'll eventually get to where you need to go. Alright, up here, and we're going to go to this little forest section. There's a town right in the middle. And there we go. Alright, so in this town, do the usual things. Just stock up on whatever items you need to stock up on. Now, eventually going to go to this top right section of town and talk to these guys. That one that I talked to there is the one that you actually need to talk to, and he's talking about how we go towards our next crystal. We've now got the canoe item, which is really good. So it lets us go through these little water streams like this. Now I'm going to do a little bit of grinding here just to make sure we're ready for the next temple. Alright, with that grinding done, we're going to go up through this lake here. And that'll sort of help us head towards the next section. Just follow the sort of path I'm following through the maze there. And we're in that fire temple. So this one's a bit weird. It's got these fiery floors that you step on. And whenever you step on the floor, you take damage with your party. You can see the screen sort of flashing there. So you think that would be really bad, taking damage, but I actually think it's really good because when you're on those tiles, you can't get into any sort of wild encounters with enemies. So it's actually not a bad strategy to just let your party go down to 1 health because you're stepping on those tiles and just avoid all the battles with enemies. But you're going to make it up 3 here, just getting all chests along your way as you need to. And although it can be pretty out of your way, it's always worth getting chests like this. Alright, we're then heading into the next room of the fire area. And we get to this big central room here. So I like to do like a little loop around this room just to make sure we get everything. There's lots of rooms with chests in them. Now we're about to fight the actual fire boss here. So it's a similar thing to what we did before. Just try your best to beat it. Make sure you're all healed up before you go in and everything. And it's always good to have a mage with a healing spell if you can. So you're going to step on that to grab the crystal and head back out. And that's actually going to be the fire section done. So we're now sort of heading back to town. We're going to heal up and then go to our next area. So with the canoe, we can actually step straight off our boat onto those little canoe areas, which is really handy. We're going to go to this one here, which looks very similar to the last one, but it's actually going to get us to the next section that we need to go to. Alright, and in this cave here. So this cave can be a little bit maze-like, but if you follow the same path that I follow, you're going to be fine. Now there's lots of sort of holes here that you can fall through. So I'm going to get the chest that I can get. And we're going to fall through that hole. And we'll go down here. Alright, there's 3 chests here and a hole. So you're going to fall down that hole and that actually brings you in here where we couldn't access before. And that chest has an eye in front of it. It's actually not a bad idea to grind out on that eye and get a whole bunch of level ups, because the eye gives some pretty good experience in gold. Alright, we're going to head back through this section here. And that's sort of done. So we got everything we need to get from that little section there. Main thing was that chest behind the eye that we needed to get. We're going to head back to the right and take our boat out again. And we're going to be heading back to that town from before. So healing up here, then we're going to head south. Now that we got the floater item from before that eye, we're actually going to go into the desert and use it here. So we needed the floater from the eye chest. We're going to go to the desert here, stop, pause, and actually go into items and use the floater. Again, this is another thing that's kind of hard to know to do if you're not familiar with the game. But that gives us the airship, which is a really good item. Now the airship does what it says on the tin, it flies around the game. So we're going to fly straight north from where we get the airship. And then we're going to go to this town here. So do the usual thing, stock up on all of our items. And then we're going to leave the town and fly left from there. We're going to land here and then go into the desert. So you can only land the airship on sort of like normal grassy bits of ground. And if you look at this map bit here, there's like no normal grassy bits of ground. So we've gone left into the desert, and we're going to make our way to this castle here. Now this castle is going to help us do sort of upgrade our characters. So I'll show you the path in full here. It can be a little bit tricky to follow if you're not familiar with the maze. So just follow the same path that I follow and you should be fine. Alright, so we got the tail there, and this is going to be key to upgrading our characters. You step on the chair, you're going to go back to the start, and then we'll head out of here. So the characters are not upgraded yet, but now that we got that item, we will be able to upgrade them. So the good thing about upgrading your characters is it sort of goes up from whatever class you were. So like sort of the fighters and wizards are all going to upgrade to better sorts of fighters and wizards. You don't have to do this to beat the game, but it's really good to do it. We're going to go straight left and down. We're going to go here into this hole. It's a very long passageway. And this is sort of where we're going to upgrade our characters. So he says since we have the tail, that's how we can upgrade. And you'll see that our character sprites look different and now we're all upgraded. So we're going to be a lot more powerful. It's definitely worth the time investment to do that upgrade because it saves you having to level up a bit more. Now, you want to go onto this particular desert tile, the one that I landed on there, and buy a bottle. And it's 50,000 gold, so you make sure you have enough saved up for that, because it's a pretty big amount of gold at this point in the game. I'm then going to go into this town here with our bottle and use it on the lake. That sort of makes a ferry appear here. And the ferry tells us about Oxale. So we're then going to go to the right into this town here. And this is sort of going to be where we get our water temple, which is the next area of the game to go. Alright, healing up in the inn, then we're going to head to the right. Since we have that Oxale, we're going to be able to go into the water temple. So I'm going to head up and right here, and this is going to be where we get most of our items from the water temple. And then up and left instead is where you go to actually beat the temple itself. So we'll make our way gradually through. Now that we've done that, you want to go sort of left here and it loops around. If you ever look at a map of this area, you'll notice like it's really hard to reach that room that I just went into. And that's because the map actually loops around. So you sort of go out one side of the map and come in the other side. It's a bit weird. But anyway, we'll go through and we'll get all the rest of the items here. Alright, now we actually haven't done the water temple yet, but I'm just going to go and heal up there. Then we're going to go up and left instead. Now if we go up and left, that's where we actually go to beat the water temple itself. Alright, coming through the water temple here, we're going to make our way collecting all the chests and everything we need to and head up. Alright, now we're up to actually beat the boss of this area, Kraken. And it's going to be pretty much the same thing once we beat this boss. We'll just go up, get the crystal, and step on the thing to walk out. Alright, we're then going to go up through this little river section here into the waterfall. Now the waterfall maze, it can be a bit of a mazy area. Basically, we're going to go left and end up down in the bottom left corner. Once you get there, there's lots of good items. But the cube is the really important thing. That gets you to the floating castle, so you need that to progress through the game. Now, ribbons are really good. You'll find that they don't have a whole lot of defense. But what ribbons do have is a lot of defense against particular elements. So if you get a ribbon, it's probably worth putting it on. Alright, we're going to come back out the maze, same way we came in. And we're going to head back down to our airship. And then we're going to go right down to this town. I will just play that back again so you can see. You go pretty much down and then right here. This is a town that we've been in before. And we'll talk to this person. So about the slab there. That's how we progress the story a bit further. Let me go up. And we're going to land on this little open bit of grass here. The reason we land on that open bit of grass is because that's the only way we can really get through to this town down here. Because the rest of it is not stuff that we can land on. So we're going to go into this town. Then we're going to head down and talk to this person. He gives us the chime. Then we're going to head back up to where our airship is. And we're going to go into this desert here. So with the desert, we're going to go right into the middle, into this castle section. And we're going to go for it. So we'll get a whole bunch of chests through. Then we're going to climb the castle. Alright, this brings us into this sort of futuristic area. The Bane sword is pretty good. It's got this special ability where you can instantly kill somebody, but it's pretty unlikely that that ability triggers. You can actually beat the final boss with that. It's a very low probability though, like 1 out of hundreds chance. Alright, we're then going to go and check out all these different rooms. We'll head through into this big section. Big section, I just walk 2 to the left and 2 up and you get there. Now this area of the game has this hectic enemy that's really hard to beat that can come up, Warmech. I just ran from Warmech because it would have totally destroyed me. But Warmech is the hardest enemy in the game by far, like harder than the final boss, just absolutely insane. So if you want a challenge with this game, what you can do is try and beat Warmech. It's got a very low chance of coming up, but if it does come up, you can beat it, and congratulations to you if you do. You don't really get anything really that good for beating it. It's just sort of the extra little challenge in this game. Alright, heading back to this section. Since we got the adamant in the tower there, we can get a really good sword from this dude. Now we're going to heal up. So I'm actually heading up to this castle here, and this is where the end of the game will be. This is where we fought the very first boss in the game. But now we can travel back in time and sort of go into this section here. Just going to head down and right. And then continuing on down right. I'm going to head up through here. You have to use the loot on this to get through. There we go, up left. We're going to head down here. Might be noticing we're fighting all the bosses that we fought for each of the 4 elements there. Then we're going to head through to this section. This is basically going to be the final boss here in this room. I'm going to head up through. I'm going to make sure everyone's really healed up and ready to go. And it's sort of Garland from who we fought in the start of the game. Now, as I said before, you can use the Bane Sword to kill this boss. It's incredibly unlikely, but if you do manage to get it, it just looks like that. So kind of a silly way to beat the game, but it is an option for you if you want it. It's probably not worth it because you'd have to die and come back and keep trying again, unless you have like save states or something that you can beat it with. But that is the end of Final Fantasy. So an excellent RPG, and hopefully this walkthrough was helpful in getting you through it. If you enjoyed this, then a subscription would always be appreciated, as it helps the channel grow a lot, and I hope to keep making these videos. Thanks so much for watching.